The Master's Mysteries, Tales of Magical Mastery, Episode 83. It's okay, take a rest. You'll be fine in a moment, silly boy. Come and help your wife. Please sit down. Although the poison in Shahadi's body has been forced out, her body is still very weak. Cut it out, hypocrite. Clearly, you're ecstatic. What are you talking about? One sentence from Ahuo made two people blush. Liao Feng hurriedly helped Xiadi sit on a big rock. Several people were arguing when unexpectedly, the tribesmen that Ahuo had arranged to guard around were in trouble. No, it was venomous words. Venomous snakes. When Ahuo noticed something was amiss and turned to look, he saw dozens of venomous snakes coiled around, and his tribesmen were wiped out in an instant. Who dares to harm my tribesmen? Come out. Ahu's shout caught the attention of others, and everyone looked to the other side of the field. But when they looked, their faces turned red instantly. It's a member of the Liu family. It turns out that not far away, a woman dressed very provocatively was slowly approaching. His descendants were not wrong. Indeed, one handsome man after another. You should know that in those days, such attire was highly criticized, and it damaged one's reputation. It shows that this woman is truly audacious. It really makes this girl a bit moved. Yet, such a stunningly beautiful woman had hundreds of colorful snakes crawling behind her, making people's scalps tingle. Who are you? The dangerous aura emitted by the snakes and the woman made everyone cautious. Asking for my name, I'll tell you. Will you remember it? She is the shamanic protector of the shamanic cult, Miss Liu. She's an extremely malicious woman. Everyone, be careful. Xiodi seemed to be very familiar with the shamanic cult, and as soon as she saw this woman, she immediately revealed her identity and terrifying aspects. Let's use Xiodi's mouth to talk about Miss Liu's background. In fact, Miss Liu is not from the Mobi region, but cultivated into an immortal in a famous mountain in Jiangnan. However, just after achieving human form, she suffered a calamity from natural enemies. After a hard-fought escape, she was left with numerous injuries, and her body was extremely weak. She originally thought she had successfully escaped, but in reality, it was far from easy. One trouble followed another. Just after escaping from the attack of the old fox in the dense forest, she heard the cry of an eagle from above. She looked up and saw an eagle diving towards her like an arrow released from a bow. At that moment, she was at the end of her strength, struggling to maintain her human form. She watched as she was about to meet her end in the eagle's beak, destroying her centuries-old cultivation. At this critical moment, a pitch-black firewood chopping knife flew and struck the giant eagle. The force of the chopping knife was fierce, and it slammed the giant eagle into a nearby tree. Miss Liu was surprised and looked back. You mangy beast, I've had my eye on you for a long time. Only then did she see a burly woodcutter emerge from the woods, carrying a large bundle of firewood on his back. He had a very masculine appearance. Did you eat my little rooster? Today, I'll stew you with mushrooms. The woodcutter approached, pulled out the chopping knife without seeming to notice the large snake on the ground, and mumbled to himself. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want me to take you home too? But as he was about to leave, he tilted his head slightly and said something. The snake didn't leave, but the woodcutter didn't catch it either. Instead, he picked up the giant eagle and headed down the mountain. From that day on, the woodcutter's face was deeply engraved in Miss Liu's heart. She knew that humans and demons could never be together, but she couldn't control her feelings. I pray to the Buddha to allow me to repay this life-saving grace. She found a good reason for herself, wanting to repay the kindness. So, a few days later, Miss Liu came to the village at the foot of the mountain. After careful arrangements, she really married the woodcutter. Too beautiful, it's unreasonable. What does he have? This caused quite a stir in the small town. The men in the town couldn't understand how such a beautiful woman would be willing to marry a poor man. Thank you all for coming to witness today. I'm married, and Miss Liu is now my wife. Despite the criticism from many, in that thatched house, the two finally became a married couple. In fact, most people were envious that the poor guy had such good luck. But amidst the envy, there were always a few with ulterior motives. As for Miss Liu, she genuinely loved this man. She didn't care about wealth and fame. She just wanted to live a simple life with him. Although he was poor, he was sincere and upright, and he treated Miss Liu very well. The two of them lived a very happy life. After several months of such blissful days, Miss Liu even gave up her cultivation. She stopped practicing and just wanted to live and grow old with her husband. Good lady, want to buy some fish? I'll give you a discount. Please pick one for me. However, she was thinking too simplistically. Things in the world were not as straightforward as she hoped. Big sister from the Gu family, why are you still here? Big brother Gu has been arrested by the authorities. What? How is that possible? One day, someone told her that her husband had been arrested by the authorities. At first, Miss Liu didn't believe it. Her husband was straightforward and would never do anything illegal. But out of concern, she immediately rushed back home. When she entered the courtyard, she saw her husband's chopping knife placed at the doorstep, and her heart sank a little. But when she pushed open the door and saw the person inside, her heart suddenly stopped, and then everything became clear. The person inside the house was not her husband, but the son of the local magistrate, the same man who had been pursuing her for the past few months, often making inappropriate advances. She had kept this from her husband out of fear that he would act impulsively. Young lady, you're back. My husband fought with someone and killed them. What does it have to do with me? Don't talk nonsense. It's only right that he pays for his crime. He's already been beheaded. What? He's dead. What surprised Miss Liu was the cruelty of these people. Her husband had just been imprisoned, and someone had already taken his life. He was just a pauper. What's there to cry about? Upon hearing the terrible news, Miss Liu was left in shock, and the villain took the opportunity to approach her. An eye for an eye. It's only fair. He's already been beheaded. What? He's dead. What Miss Liu didn't expect was that these people were so ruthless. Her husband had just been imprisoned, and someone had already taken his life. He was just a pauper. What's there to cry about? Upon hearing the terrible news, Miss Liu was left in shock, and the villain took the opportunity to approach her. Just follow me, and you can enjoy a lifetime of wealth and prosperity. What's wrong with that? Be practical. Miss Liu was filled with regret. If it weren't for her, her husband wouldn't have died. She blamed herself. But she also felt anger. She had given up her cultivation and moral principles for love, always avoiding trouble. Why had she been pushed to this point? She suddenly realized that kindness was a mistake. If following the path of goodness led to this result, why not indulge herself a bit more? Since they had caused her pain, she would make them suffer 100-fold and 1,000-fold in return. Rather than ending up heartbroken, she would act recklessly. If she couldn't find happiness, she would destroy the happiness of others. At this point, Miss Liu was completely consumed by darkness. That night, she killed the man responsible for her husband's death and set fire to the small temple on the mountain. All notions of Buddhism and Taoism were now irrelevant to her. From that day on, Miss Liu seemed like a completely different person. She never covered herself up again after the magistrate's son had torn her clothes off her shoulder. She swayed her slender waist and frequently appeared in towns and cities, attracting the fiery gazes of countless men. Sir, could you offer shelter to a homeless woman like me? Facing this seductive beauty, few men could resist her charms. So, one after another, men became her prey. None of these men could have imagined that such a beautiful and alluring woman was actually a venomous monster, Over the years, countless men had died in her embrace. In the end, she somehow joined the shamanism religion and became one of the 6 guardians of the shamanism faith.